Uh-oh, we have another Me Too on our hands.
Do you know what the thing is, though? They're so trendy now, I don't believe them. I kind of am just inclined, like, my knee-jerk reaction is to not believe them ever.
Well, they're also like COVID variants. They get weaker and more catchy as we go on. Like, the Me Too started with, like, Harvey Weinstein bent me over and fucked me in the ass for a movie role. And you're like, holy shit, that guy needs to go to jail.
No, that's bad, right?
But then as it goes on and on, it's like Aziz Ansari invited me over to his house and we watched Netflix and he tried to finger me and I said no and he stopped. So then he gave me money for an Uber and told me to leave. It's like, well, yeah, Aziz Ansari wanted you there so you would fuck him. And when you said you weren't going to fuck him, he's like, well, then you don't really need to be here anymore.
Or you have that guy who's like on the news or something who had consensual sex with this chick who decided she didn't feel so great about the consensual sex in the morning.
Right.
Because that's a new one, too.
Honestly, I think if you're both shit-hammered and you agreed to it, that's offsetting penalties. Yeah. Like in football.
Yeah, you don't get to just regret it and Me Too the poor guy in the morning.
He was a dumb drunk tard. You're a dumb drunk tard. You deserve it. Both of you. Boom. There you go. Offsetting penalties. Did you consent? Yeah, but I was so drunk. Well, don't get so drunk next time and you won't fuck a guy that you're ashamed to look at in the morning.
Right, unless somebody drugged you. I understand that's out of your control. But, like, you can control how much you're drinking.
Everything that's rape when you're sober should be rape when you're drinking.
Of course. Yeah.
But if your whole thing is, like, people want to have their cake, their cock and eat it too. They want to do this thing where they go, oh, no, I was really drunk, and if I'm really drunk, I can't consent. I'll say this. If you're a super sober dude and you go try to pick up like a crazy drunk chick, like a really drunk girl, you're a weirdo.
Oh, like you're worse than a weirdo. You shouldn't be trying to sleep with a chick who's clearly stumbling and falling over.
Now, if you're stumbling and falling over, then the two of you kind of deserve each other. But if you're clean and she's like, and you go like, I'm getting that one.
That one will be easy.
I do feel like something should happen to you.
Yeah.
For that one.
Sure.
But let's see what Tony Hinchcliffe is accused of. You know what I'm excited about for today's show? We have 2 clips from Unique today.
Wow, and we kind of took a break from him.
Yeah, I was DMing with my buddy Unique yesterday.
What did it sound like?
He retweeted something that I posted, and then I asked him, I go, hey, since I got you here, do you mind if we use your clips tomorrow from your channel? And he said to me, and I quote, and that's yes, by the way, if you didn't hear it.
Thank you for translating. It kind of says like he's saying, it doesn't matter.
Right, and that's what he meant.
You know.
Go for it. So, if I could yawn for a moment. Tony Hinchcliffe gets accused. And here's where Unique's kind of shitty. He goes, another Joe Rogan crew member goes down. Like, that's kind of an internet troll thing to do where you're like, I got to root for Joe Rogan's guys to get fucked over. It's like, look, don't force it. If they do something bad and that kills their career, okay, if you don't like the person, go ahead and go, yeah, fuck him, blah, blah, blah. But, like, when the accusation comes out, you don't start the end zone dance early. Like, there's still plays to be made here. Let's take a look. Because, like, people have been calling, Brendan Schaub's done. His career's dead, this and that. And Brendan Schaub's still doing shows.
He's fine.
Brendan Schaub still has money in his pocket. Like, he's doing okay. You got to be careful. You got to stop showing your ass all the time because you want something to happen so bad. Because then when it doesn't, you either have to get, like we said, more angry or you have to lie. And with Brendan Schaub, people were like, oh, take him down. Oh, he's going to be done with it. It's like, how about you just make fun of him when he does silly shit? And then you'll never be disappointed. You'll never be wrong. You'll never have to spin shit.
You don't have to exert yourself to create something.
Right. Just let him do it and then make fun of him when silly shit happens. But let's see what happened to Tony Hinchcliffe. It's an accusation by a woman that she made on a blog. So I'm immediately skeptical.
Yeah, if you have a serious problem with somebody like of this level, don't you go to an authority?
Authority, the person themselves, something else.
A family member.
I don't know if you write a blog, because the minute I hear I wrote a blog about this thing this guy did to me, I'm like, well, then you also want attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's the only reason you did it, but that's part of the reason you did it. And that, like, I worry about people's motives a lot and whether or not they're telling the truth. Let's see how this went for old Tony Hinchcliffe.
Another member of the Joe Rogan crew has been accused by a woman. So let's check this out.
Oh, by the way, funny thing in this video, Unique's kid and his wife are yelling and screaming in the background. And Kyle in this one is just like, I don't give a fuck. I've got a video on Tony Hinchcliffe to do. Shut that fucking baby up.
How mad would you be if everybody else in this house was like, you were trying to stream or something, we were just yelling and screaming and running around?
No, see, like my thoughts are the opposite. You shouldn't be streaming.
I know.
When the kids are in the house.
Let's say it was an emergency thing. You had to get it out there and we're all running around screaming. How mad are you?
I don't think I would be, because my attitude is like, that's what they should be doing. I'm the asshole going down here trying to do something while the kids are running around.
Never mind.
You asked me what I would do. That's my honest opinion.
What you should know about Tony Hinchcliffe, he tried to me at the LA Comedy Store.
They can't say the word rape or they'll get demonetized.
On July 15th, 2020, I escaped an attempted...
It is. You can tell it's really distracting him because he keeps pausing. Either that or he can't read.
I feel like that's the real story here. What's going on outside?
Yeah. You know? Yeah, Unique. Fucking put your foot down. Tell your family to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just
Daddy's working. Yeah.
Gang... Whoa. At the Comedy Store in Los Angeles.
Whoa. That's what we call it from now on, but W-O-E.
A gang woe.
I was gang woed. That was depressing.
Oh, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
I went to a small event by myself, and I was invited to sit at a table with Tony Hinchcliffe, who hosts the podcast show Kill Tony. The next thing I knew, I felt like I was drugged, and I was surrounded by a group of men. It was terrifying.
Okay.
I don't think that Tony Hinchcliffe drugged a woman in the middle of a comedy club.
No. I always assume that people, especially of some sort of stature, like a Tony Hinchcliffe in the comedy world, like they probably don't want to overcomplicate their life if they don't have to. And I feel like this would cause big problems for him.
I'm not. Okay, so there's tiny red flags here, but let's see.
There wasn't anyone around to help me. I ran out right away and called the cops. I went to a hospital for a few days to detox from I don't know what.
Okay, big red flag.
Wait, they would have taken blood and they would have seen what was in your system.
Yep.
From you coming in. If you came into the hospital and said, hey, I feel like I was drugged, they would take blood right away.
And not only that,
this woman drank too much and you went to the hospital for a few days to detox. That
you would know from what? Because if you come in and you say, hey, I think I was drugged, that's an allegation, by the way, that somebody's going to look into. Because they don't want women being drugged at comedy clubs. And yeah, you would 100% know exactly what was in your system. And you wouldn't be able to run if you were drugged, by the way. So you're not running outside. And she didn't say that any of them approached her.
Right.
She just said that she didn't feel right and she ran outside.
Is this where it ends? She is at a table sitting next to Tony Hinchcliffe.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the table, is she surrounded by a group of men at the table? I ran out right away and called the cops. Then nothing happened to you.
Yeah, it didn't say that any of them were trying to come on to you or any of that.
Yeah, this is odd.
Yeah.
To stay safe, as I no longer felt safe in my apartment.
Listening to that kid scream is infuriating. Almost as infuriating as listening to Kyle read.
I actually like listening to him read.
I love Kyle. I think Kyle's great. I think he's completely harmless. He's funny enough. Yeah. But, the reading.
Show has left LA, but is still up and running. The experience was so traumatic that I left LA and stopped doing comedy for 3 years.
This sounds like a mentally ill chick.
I was just going to say,
which in comedy is not rare.
I was just going to say, or I'll approach you with another theory. Were you just surrounded by a bunch of really talented people and you were having a panic attack that you're not doing so well with comedy and you just kind of freaked out and left and maybe drank too much that night, but you didn't do comedy for 3 years because you didn't feel like you could make the cut? I don't know.
Yeah, this is fucked up. Like, this is not This has no makings of any sexual impropriety. And even if you don't like Tony Hinchcliffe, like, nobody deserves this kind of shit.
And this has
Like
actually...
to have some woman go, I sat down next to Tony Hinchcliffe. I took a drink. Next thing I knew, I felt like I was drugged and I was surrounded by a group of men. Was it like a blacked.com thing where they all had their dicks out and they were standing next to you? Were you just sitting at a table? She's like, oh, I escaped a gang rape. It's like, I need more context here. If you're going to rat a guy out, I need I'm like the police or an investigator. Like, you better give me a straight story here as to where this crime happened, because right now, all I'm seeing is I'm a little nutty. Comedy didn't work out for me in LA. 3 years later, I got really shit-faced one night. This is weird.
Well, and you also have to have some kind of reasoning for asserting that you escaped a gang rape.
I haven't heard that yet.
Because I haven't heard that any man tried to touch you or even looked at you weird.
I reported him to the LAPD. The police have not helped since the incident.
Okay, that means that you probably didn't have a case of any kind.
No, that means you didn't give them any reason to believe that he tried to rape you.
Right.
I feel like if I stay silent on this, then I'm protecting a predator. There are also rumors of him preying on newer female comedian and former female regulars who were on his show.
Okay, what does that mean? See, this is why you got to stay the fuck out of LA, because these people are nuts and they'll try to hamstring you at every turn. And who it really hurts is people who have actually been harmed. But with this woman, like, what does that mean? Preying on newer female comedians and former female regulars. What, he hit on women who came on his show? I got news for you. Guys who have comedy podcasts and have any kind of standing in audience, most of the reason they bring a chick on their podcast is that they can hit on them and see if they can date them.
How about men in general? Like, maybe that's the easiest way that you meet women. And you're going to hit on a few because they're hot. But then there's going to be some woman who didn't get hit on that's going to see that and be like, oh, he's preying on those girls.
He's not preying on them. He's trying to fuck them.
Yeah, there's a difference.
And if they don't want to and he doesn't, then he didn't do anything wrong. If they did and he did, then he didn't do anything wrong. Now, if they objected and he still fucked them, then yes, that's a problem. But I have heard absolutely zero people say that. Even your story has no specifics in it.
A lot of holes, though.
You sat down for a drink with Tony Hinchcliffe. You felt funny. You were surrounded by dudes, so you left. Nothing happened to you.
No guys followed you.
Like, this is a really shitty thing to do.
This is, because now Tony is in the news right now, and it's going to be attached to a MeToo moment.
I will say this. He's not in the news. I haven't seen anyone really pick this up.
Okay,
so
well,
thankfully,
if it does.
I think people read this from this woman and they went, yeah, there's nothing here. This is crazy. It was so traumatic. I left LA and stopped doing comedy for 3 years. It sounds like you had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
If you are reading this, you probably attended a show and support him. I hope you think otherwise after reading this. He is extremely manipulative. And
One more time, Kyle. Try that again.
He is extremely manipulative.
Manipulative.
I can't even say it how he said it.
Manipulative? No, I said it the right way. How did he say it?
He is extremely manipulative.
Manipulative. Manipulative. There we go.
No.
Manipulative.
I can't.
Medicinal. Manipulative. Manipulative, yes. If you break it down.
Manipulative.
Exactly.
And I am sure he has intimidated many women into silence.
Oh, God, he doesn't have time.
I bet you this doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Thank God.
Ma'am, do you see Kyle from Unique Entertainment sniffed this out as bullshit right off the bat?
And he says manipulative.
And he says manipulative.
And that thing.
And this. That guy is sniffing bullshit out of your story.
That's a word. I don't know what it means, but.
Like, she got drugged and spent a few days at the hospital, and she called the cops, and the cops didn't do anything about it. Plus, I don't for a second believe Tony Hinchcliffe is into women.
That's pretty good.
Wow. Actually, the best take of the whole story.
Here I was toying with the notion that you were gay. Yeah, like again, this seems more like a mental breakdown. You went to the hospital for a few days.
Okay, there's so many red flags in that first paragraph. Okay, she was drugged but was somehow able to run away and get to the hospital on her own.
No blood work.
The detoxing for a couple days with a few days without knowing what she was detoxing from makes no sense.
No.
Even if she was roofied, the movie The Hangover will tell you that shit's out of your system overnight. So
I no longer felt safe in my apartment. Why? Yeah, this sounds like a crazy chick in LA having a mental breakdown and wanting to blame someone for it.
yeah, I didn't do comedy for 3 years. It's because you're probably insecure and didn't think you could do it.
This is where you have to be careful if you're a guy like Hinchcliffe, though, because a guy like Tony, he does have some influence and some sway. In comedy, at least in Austin and kind of that area. And he does have that show. So he has he can do something for you. So if these girls believe like, oh yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe, he can do something for you. And then you don't, they will get bitter and they will try to fuck you over. They will try to hamstring you.
And then if you're Tony, it's like, I'm sorry I didn't fuck you.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Jezebel G, preying on equals hit on some women.
And that's what men do. I'm sorry. Men hit on women. And you know what? Some women really hit on men too. Like it goes both ways. This is ridiculous.
Producer Robert says that's true. According to Keanu, all the female guests I book, I want to fuck. Well, I mean, there you go.